It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. It's not your journey to take. Let's learn. Let's learn.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Not Your Journey to Take, Early Morning Sip and Chat. My name is Keisha, Kesha Mason Campbell. I am the author of Not Your Journey to Take, and I teach women that no is a complete sentence. I show them how to establish healthy boundaries with family and friends, all while putting their needs first. So, I hope that everyone is starting their morning out great. I hope that we are purposely going to have a super fantastic day on purpose, right? On purpose. That's necessary. When we set our days, when we get to moving about our days, we need to do it on purpose or with a purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So for Not Your Journey to Take Early Morning Sip and Chat, we've had a running theme for January. So we'll recap each one of those weeks. Week 1. As you're setting goals for the year, for the month, for the quarter, I tasked you to add a couple of boundaries in the goals. Add a couple of boundaries in there. You didn't have to do a whole lot, maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4. It depends upon your comfortability with setting boundaries. So if you're not used to setting boundaries, and it's not something that you do, but it's something that you know that you need to implement in your life, maybe you wanted to add like 1 or 2. And boundaries could be anything that requires you to put yourself first or think about yourself first before you show up for others. And that could be anything. And my main example, I just used the word no. No is a complete sentence. Yes is only 2 words, but it means a lot. So sometimes in your no is that complete sentence, and your no is that boundary. You go through like a mental checklist when anything is, asked of you, any requests, any favors, any time, any money, whatever that may be. You go through a mental checklist. Am I showing up for me? Do I have something to do? Do I have someplace to go? Did I already have plans? Right? You go through your mental checklist. And if any of that is no, then absolutely you can show up for that person, whatever that may be. Good morning. Whatever that may be, you can show up. Setting boundaries isn't about being mean or not showing up for others and not helping others. That's not what boundaries mean. Boundaries mean showing up for you first. I am well in yourself. It means showing up for you first, taking care of you first, and then helping others. That's all that means. And I'll give the quick example of getting on an airplane. When you get on an airplane, the flight attendant says, if the cabin loses air pressure and the masks fall, secure your mask first and then help others. Same premise true in life. So week 1, you were tasked with adding or setting a couple of boundaries as your goals. Week 2, I asked you to test them. Thank you. I asked you to test them. Test your boundaries, right? And you're testing your boundaries to see how you feel when you are setting the boundaries and implementing those boundaries. Because if it's not something that you normally do, it won't be that easy for you. It'll get easier over time, but it's not easy when you first do it. And that's okay, because you're learning how to put you first, and you're learning how to develop and set those boundaries. So we tested those in week 3. Some of you did, some of you didn't. Some of you began to set the boundary, but when the person came back to you to say whatever they needed to say, you kind of backpedaled and you went ahead and said yes anyway. So we've had a variety of responses, whether it be in the comments during the live, the comments during the replay, or sending me DMs and letting me know whether you could or you couldn't. If you did, what happened. And I get it and I understand. Because we've all been there. We're not born setting boundaries. We're not born setting boundaries. But as we get older and become adults, we have to learn to put ourselves first and then take care of others. So week 1 was to set a couple of boundaries as goals. Week 2, we tested those boundaries. Week 3, I told you about some of the fears that you have with setting boundaries. Let's recap some of those fears. The first one is fearing how someone will feel if you say no. You're more concerned about how they feel if you say no, or if you have your boundary in place, whatever that may be. We've just been using no as the example, because boundaries could be anything. But fearing how they feel when you implement your boundary. So you're more concerned about how they feel than you are about yourself. Again, that's not to say you shouldn't be concerned about others, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to make sure that you're good. So you can't necessarily worry about how they are feeling in your boundary or feeling when you say no. Because you're putting you first. You may not have the capacity. The second fear of retaliation. Thinking that if you say no, that they're going to want to do the get back thing or somehow retaliate against you for telling them no. 3, fear that they won't respect your boundaries. And when you know your boundaries are not being respected, as when someone else goes into negotiation mode. Negotiation would go something like, hey, I know you're on your way to whatever you had going on, but since you have to pass my house, swing by, pick me up, and take me to run an errand before you go. And you're like, wait a minute. I can't do that because I have a place to be. And they'll tell you, oh yeah, I know, I get it, I understand. But listen, my house is on your way and I need to go to the store. So I need you to come and get me and take me to the store to run some errands and then take me back home. And then you can go. So they're taking your plans, inserting themselves in your plans and negotiating with you how you can show up for them. Not considering the fact that you already have plans, and stopping to pick them up or do anything for them wasn't in the plan. It's not in the plan. So now they're negotiating with you about your time because they need you or want you or requesting that you do something for them. That's not required, but that's negotiation. The fourth one is fear of putting yourself first. Fear of putting yourself first. Most people who show up for all others all the time have a problem with putting themselves first because they are used to showing up for everybody else all the time. So when it comes to putting yourself first, you begin to feel bad and kind of convicted that, oh, yeah, I need this massage, but I told, somebody else that I was going to do this or do that. Or you already have something scheduled and something is requested of you, asked of you. And instead of you going and taking care of you, you stop, you cancel it, and you go show up for others. Because you fear putting you first as if you are not showing up for somebody else. Well, the opposite rings true too. You're not showing up for yourself because you're showing up for everybody else. And you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. The fifth one is fear of the unknown. So if I tell you no today, you're asking, time, money, a request, a favor, a ride, whatever it is. In a week, in a month, in 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I don't know how you're going to feel when you throw that up in my face as if that's a reason for you not to do something because I asked. Right? You just don't know how they're going to not return the favor or how they're going to come back to you or return to you because you said no. That unknown, like you just don't know. And that can be a problem, right? But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. If you're saying no and showing up for yourself and somebody wants to retaliate or somebody wants to say or do something or you're so worried about the unknown, whatever that looks like, whatever that may be, you're so worried about those things. And those are fears. But in those fears, you're not putting you first. You're not focusing on you. You're not. Show up for others from a full cup. Then you're doing things out of love and out of kindness. You're doing things because you want to. You're doing things because you can and you have the capacity. Instead of not doing it, right? Instead of just not doing it because, you're being mean, you're being malice or things like that. And that's not what we do. That's not what we do. We show up for others after we've shown up for ourselves. We show up for others when we have shown up for ourselves. And that goes back to the teaching where I say you're teaching people indirectly how to show up for themselves. Think about that. We're teaching when we're not teaching. People are observing and watching and seeing how others receive what you're doing. And they're like, wow, that's not a bad deal. Let me focus on me a little bit more. This week, week 4, ready responses. Ready responses. So let me tell you the ones that we've gone over thus far. First, let's talk about what ready responses are. Ready responses are pre-prepared responses that you have for frequently asked questions, favors, tasks, time, or money that's asked of you. Because of who you are, the consistency of what's asked of you is pretty much the same, regardless of who's asking. Our personality and who we are is who we are. So whenever something is asked of us, for us, or required of us, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same, just a different person, right? It may be, somebody may say, take me to Kroger. Somebody else may say, take me to the Food Lion. Another person may say, take me to the Piggly Wiggly. Those are different choices. Those are different choices. And depending on the person will determine where they want to go. Same with you. When someone is asking something of you, everybody is saying, take me to the supermarket. But you just don't know what market they want to go to. So having the pre-prepared responses, because you need to take care of you and put you first, sometimes they are necessary. Actually, they're necessary most of the time. So let's hit a few of them. 1, no, not today. 2, give me some time and I'll get back to you. 3, I understand, but I don't have the capacity. 4, personally, I'm not comfortable with this conversation. And 5, that's today's one, right? We get a new one every day. Today's is, believe me, I get it, but I can't do it. Believe me, I get it, but I can't do it. I'm giving you some ready responses that you could use when different things are asked of you, regardless of what they are. Regardless of what they are. We're always mindful of people and how they feel and how they're going to respond and what they're going to say. I get it. We're human. We worry about everybody else, right? We worry about everybody else and what they say, what they're going to do, how they're going to retaliate, if they're going to negotiate, fear of the unknown. But having your ready responses allows you not to be rude, not to be disrespectful, but to say no, because you're putting you first. You're focusing on you first. Once you've taken care of you, then by all means, help, show up, do what's necessary for everybody else. But at that point, you're pouring from a full cup. You're pouring from a full cup. And that way you have plenty to give. You have the capacity to give. So let's go through those ready responses so far. The first one, no, not today. The second one, give me some time And I'll get back to you. The third one, I understand. I don't have the capacity. Fourth, personally, I'm not comfortable with that conversation. 5, believe me, I get it, but I can't do it. Those are some ready responses that you can use when different things are asked of you. Just be mindful, because you're not here to hurt anybody's feelings. You're not here to just say no to be mean. You're not doing any of those things. What you are doing is putting yourself first, going through your mental checklist that requires you to put you first. And if you are able to show up because you put your mask on first, according to the flight attendant when you're catching a plane, when you put your mask on first, then you can show up for others. But if you haven't put your mask on first, then the requirement is to take care of you first and then show up for others later. So that's where your ready responses come in, because now you are focusing on you, putting you first. And if you have the capacity and you are available and everything is all good, then show up for others, help others, do for others. But then you're doing it from a place of love and kindness. And that's different from doing it because I'm required, or because I have to, or because I'm feeling obligated. Because then I'm doing it because I have to. And it's not received because I'm not doing it out of love and kindness. I'm just doing it because I'm going through the motions. Ready responses absolutely helps you to put a pause on things. Like if you're being asked to, go to either one of those supermarkets, and right now isn't the time, or you have some other plans for you, then the answer is no, not today. They begin to negotiate. Well, all I need you to do is, you can just swing by here. It's only going to take you. I don't see why you can't, right? Those are all the negotiation tactics. Stand in your no, not today. And maybe give alternatives. Catch an Uber, catch a Lyft, catch a cab, if they still have those. Transportation is available, and I don't have to be that mode of transportation. There are options, and you are the option. But you're probably the ideal option, because they know asking you is going to get done. They know asking you is going to get done correctly. They know asking you, you're going to show up, and if there's anything else that they need, that you're going to be there for them, right? So I may be asking you to take me to the supermarket, but in that, I may say, oh, by the way, let's go swing by Nordstrom's. I need to pick up a couple things. And you're like, wait a minute, you just said the market. But because people know your heart and know that you're open and know that, once they got you, you're going to do all the things. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely nothing wrong with showing up for others and taking care of others and being there for others. Nothing at all. Just make sure you have the capacity to do it. Just make sure that you are available to do it. Make sure that you're not stopping what you have going on for yourself to show up for somebody else. Take care of you first, whatever that is, whatever you have going on. Take care of you first, and then show up for others. It'll be okay. And you'll feel a heck of a lot better. You will feel a heck of a lot better showing up for everybody else after you've shown up for yourself, because it won't feel like work. It won't feel like you're doing stuff out of exhaustion, or like you're just so tired and you just have to move, you have to do, you have to show up, you got to do this, you got to do that. You won't feel like that. Pouring from a full cup and people asking all the things, you will still show up for them, because you're doing it out of love and out of kindness, and your cup is full. So you're pouring from a full cup to help others. You're pouring from a full cup to be there for others. You're pouring from a full cup to support others. And it's absolutely okay, because remember, the flight attendant says if the cabin loses air pressure, the oxygen masks will fall. You have to secure your mask first and then help others, because the alternative is helping others secure their mask first, and then you don't have the energy to put your mask on. So everybody else is focused on themselves and breathing through their mask. And you can't even get to yours. And nobody sees that you're struggling. Nobody sees that you can't get to your mask. Nobody sees that you don't even have on your mask. Nobody sees it because they're focused on making sure that their selves are good when you need to do the same. Once you're good, you have the capacity to show up for others. You have the capacity to be there for others. And you can show up. But just know, when it comes to showing up for others, show up with a full cup. Make sure that you have taken care of you first. Okay? So we're going to go on about our day. We're going to have a super fantastic day on purpose because we can. Because we can. So I'm going to wrap it up. My name is Keisha Mason Campbell. Keisha is spelled Kesha. I am the author of Not Your Journey to Take. And I teach women that no is a complete sentence. I show them how to establish healthy boundaries with family and friends while putting their needs first. For the month of January, I've been taking you through the motions to learn how to establish boundaries. Week 1, as you're setting your goals, I ask you to throw in a couple of boundaries. Week 2, I asked you to test out those boundaries. Week 3, we talked about 5 fears that you have with setting boundaries. And those fears were fear of how someone will feel if you say no, fear of retaliation, fear that people won't respect your boundaries, fear of putting you first, and fear of the unknown. And then we get to this week, week 4. And we talk about ready responses, which is my favorite. Ready responses. So each day I've been giving you a ready response. So our ready responses are as follows. 1, no, not today. 2, give me some time and I'll get back to you. 3, I understand, but I don't have the capacity. 4, I personally am not comfortable with having this conversation. 5, believe me, I get it, but I can't. So those are 5 ready responses that you can put in your back pocket, that you can use when you see needed, when you see the time is appropriate. Use them. Use them. And next week, we're tying all of this together and what I call putting a lid on it. Whether you're putting a cap on it, you're putting a cap on it, right? I call it a lid. So next week, which is week 5, which is a short week, we're going to go into wrapping all of this up and that I call putting a lid on it. So you have set the boundaries, you've tested the boundaries, you understand your fears of the boundary so that way you can get in front of it. And then we develop ready responses that'll get you started. So we're going to put a lid on all of that next week. So thank you so much for joining me live. Thank you so much for watching the replay. In the comments, share some of your ready responses. And if you don't have any, think of some and just share what you think would be a good ready response. You can put it in the comments while you're watching live. You can put it in the comments while you're watching the replay. Or, like most of you, you can shoot me a DM. That's all good as well. So again, thank you for joining me. Have a super fantastic day on purpose. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you. Thank you for watching the latest Not Your Journey to Take video. I hope that each of you will be having a super fantastic day. And be sure to subscribe, like, and share.